got some news to discuss here on Saints Now by Chat Sports. We're going to get right into it. Jeremy Fowler posting this on X this morning saying that the Saints are restructuring quarterback Derek Carr's contract for salary cap purposes, a move expected to save the club around $23 million in cap relief per sources. Carr's due $30 million in base salary, so converting a portion of that into a signing bonus can provide immediate savings. Welcome to the Saints Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Girouard. We're going to dive into this and some free agency rumors. Could Michael Thomas be coming back? Let's talk about it. But I want to discuss what this means in terms of a contract restructure. Now, this was an expected move. When the Saints signed Derek Carr to that contract last year, they were going to restructure the contract. Like, that is what they do. That's the bread and butter of the Saints salary cap strategy, if you will. But the Saints are now more committed to Derek Carr, so hopefully Clint Kubiak and Andrew Janocko can get the best out of him. Kubiak being the OC, Janocko being the quarterback's coach. You're tied to him. Like, the plan was always to have Derek Carr be your quarterback in New Orleans for some time. But in terms of the updated cap space, remember when the Saints were $80 million over the cap? Now they're about $51 million, around $51 to $52 million over the cap. That is per Spotrac. So if you guys want to double check or fact check me, go check it out there. More contract restructures are expected. Cesar Ruiz, he is likely to get a contract restructure here soon. Eric McCoy got one yesterday, and we also talked about more restructures that should happen on a recent video. I encourage you to check it out. It has a picture of Mickey Loomis on the thumbnail. But show me the money, Saints fans. If you want New Orleans to clear up that cap space, I need you to do one thing and one thing only. That's like the video. Don't jinx it, Saints fans. Hit that thumbs up icon so that way New Orleans can not only get under the cap, but have a ton of money to work with. And also a programming announcement. Wee woo, wee woo. Saints Now is going to be at the Combine. Isn't that pretty cool? Yeah, we're going to the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. I will be out there with our Chat Sports team. So I encourage you to subscribe for interviews with players, with media personnel, and all other people. We're going to post highlights. We're going to post a lot of content, and I'm hoping to link up with some other Saints content creators and NFL content creators as well. So if you want coverage around who the Saints could possibly be looking to draft or who they could be looking to trade for, if they're looking about any moves or any sort of NFL updates that matter around the New Orleans Saints, this is your one-stop shop because we will be out there, boots on the ground, baby. Can't wait. All right, now let's get into the free agency predictions. This is probably why you clicked on this video. Michael Thomas, could he be returning? I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. But here are the players that we're going to be discussing on the back half of this video. Michael Thomas is going to be number one. Jamus Winston, Rashid Shaheed, Andrew Speed, Isaac Yiadom, and Zack Bonnell. So these are the players that I'm going to be talking about. ESPN recently published an article suggesting and kind of discussing different free agency predictions and possibilities for some of these players that are free agents with the New Orleans Saints. So I'm going to start off with Michael Thomas because I think this is like one of the biggest, if not the biggest storyline in terms of the Saints free agency outside of, getting under the cap. So he is under contract for 2024, and what the Saints might do, ESPN predicts they will likely release him. And in terms of the production for MT, it wasn't really all that great. I mean, we saw a lot of big-time catches against the Panthers. We saw him score a touchdown and catch a ball on the sideline against the Jaguars. Like, it was fun to have him around, but he isn't what he used to be, and I think that that's a pill that Saints fans everywhere just have to swallow. But as for what ESPN said about Mike Thomas, they said he isn't a free agent, but he has major roster bonuses built into his contract that would facilitate a release. Thomas was once a key part of the Saints offense, but he hasn't played a full season since 2019. Thomas was also arrested last season after an altercation with a local contractor over a parking issue in his neighborhood. And if you guys remember that whole thing going down, that was just really, really weird. Anyway, more from ESPN. Thomas played 10 games in 2023 before being placed on injured reserve for the rest of the season with a right knee injury. Considering his salary and his injury history, he likely could be looking at a fresh start. Now, in terms of what I would do, I would release Mike Thomas. It really does feel like he's going to be a Chief or a Cowboy or something insane like that. I just don't see him coming back to New Orleans. And to be honest, I don't see the Saints wanting him to come back. Like, he gave us some really good memories. He gave us a lot of really good production, early in his career. But at the end of the day, it's a business, and he's an expensive player, and you're just not getting your money's worth in terms of how much you're paying him. I would turn the page, and I would look for other wide receiver talent elsewhere this offseason. But in terms of finding a DFS app, I got you covered because PrizePicks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app, and it is my favorite daily fantasy sports app. How it works is you pick 2 to more players, choose more or less based on their projected stat lines, and voila, you are winning some money. So you can get in a $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS and plug in promo code CLNS. Now, I did throw up and cook up a heater for tonight's game for the Pels versus the Heat. I got Zion more than 24.5 points, and I'm taking Brandon Ingram 21 points. I'm taking the more on that. You want to go win some money? I can put $20 down on that projection and win 60. You want to go win some money? Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, plug in promo code CLNS. And if you just didn't hear what I said or weren't paying attention, all that information is in the comment section and description of this video. I love you, PrizePicks, and I love you, Saints fans. Go get hooked up today. All right, let's talk about Jamus Winston because that's the #2 player that I wanted to discuss. So in terms of the status for 2024, he is actually under contract. It's similar to the Mike Thomas situation where, it's set up to be either restructured again or you're going to be released. Like it's kind of set up for that at this point. So what the Saints might do, ESPN predicted that they will release Jamus Winston. You see the production on your screen. Derek Carr did start every game this season. Jamus Winston filled in kind of okay here and there whenever Carr was dealing with some injuries. Obviously, that Packers game stunk. You wish you would have won that game. That Vikings game, obviously, you wish you could have won that one and stuff because if you win those, you're in the freaking playoffs. But, that's a different story. Anyway, ESPN on Jabo. Winston was initially an unrestricted free agent, but the Saints reworked his contract so it no longer voids. The contract is still designed for another restructure or release. Winston still wants to try to be a starter somewhere, and after several seasons of being a backup, making it look like a mutual parting of ways is ahead. Now, I don't blame Jameis for wanting to go and be a starter. You want to go pursue your dreams, and somebody wants to be selfish enough to say, no, stick around, hang out here. Shame on you. But I will say this, if there's a way that you can keep Jameis Winston around, I would try to keep him. There is value in having a good quarterback too. And obviously the production from this past season wasn't anything spectacular, but it's a backup quarterback. You're not calling him to start on games. You're not calling him to go and win you Super Bowls. Maybe if that's where you get to, but quarterbacks, or at least backup quarterbacks, are important in this day and age because players are getting bigger. They're getting more physical. It's, the quarterback position is protected, but Jameis Winston can be very valuable. Not to mention, he's like the best teammate. He literally is the best teammate in the NFL. Like I encourage you to try to name a better teammate than Jameis Winston because not only is his energy and his charisma and like all of that and his leadership so fun and so exciting, and it's contagious. That's the word I'm looking for. It's contagious for a football team. So I would try to bring him back, but I can understand why he wouldn't want to come back. So if you had to pick between one of these two hot topics, 2 hot players, are you taking Michael Thomas back? Or are you taking Jameis Winston? I want you to just give me an MT or a JW in the comment section. I can't wait to see what you guys got to say. Comment down below. All right, let's move to Rashid Shaheed. We got a few more after this, so we're going to kind of speed run through these ones. 2024, his status is an exclusive rights free agent, and what the Saints likely will do is re-sign him. And the production speaks for itself. He was a Pro Bowler at the punt return position. The kid is special, and I love this player. Here's more from ESPN. They said that Shaheed turned out to be one of the best undrafted free agent pickups of 2022 and recently made his first Pro Bowl as a kick returner. It was a punt returner, but still, he is an exclusive rights free agent this offseason, meaning He cannot negotiate with any other team if the Saints issue a tender. While a long-term deal is likely in the cards because of Shaheen's early success, an exclusive rights deal would mean a one-year deal at just $985,000, making his return a no-brainer. Now, not just in terms of the money. I don't care if it costs $7 million a year to bring him back. I would bring back Rashid Shaheed for a lot of money. Like, this kid is special, and he can be good for a very long time. He is dynamic. He is effective in multiple facets of the game, and I love this player. I think he can be really special for a really long time, and I love the pairing between him and Chris Olave and A.T. Perry as well. I think that that's just such a underrated and slept-on young wide receiver core, so we'll see how their development continues, but how could you not bring back Sheed? I mean, the kid is awesome. Let's get to Andrus Peat down into the trenches. In 2024, he is an unrestricted free agent, and what the Saints might do, ESPN predicts that they might actually likely re-sign him. And you see the PFF grades on the screen right here next to me. 60.2 overall grade. The pass blocking grade, underwhelming. The run blocking grade is a little bit better, but he did allow 2 sacks. And a number that I really am not happy about is the 30 pressures, because that means Derek Carr wasn't having time to make a clean read or make a clean throw or set his feet and make a good pass. Like, Andrus Peat needs to be better. So let's dive into ESPN, what they said. They said that Peat initially lost his job at left guard to James Hurst, but he proved to be a nice fill-in at left tackle. It would also be cheaper to re-sign him than to let him walk. Peat would cost $13.6 million in dead money against the cap if his contract voids. It would make sense for the Saints to bring him back either to start again at left tackle or as a backup. Now, I don't really love the idea of bringing back Andrus Peat, but I guess in terms of somebody who understands and has chemistry with the team and the locker room and the offensive line, I wouldn't mind bringing him back as like a veteran backup, but that's kind of really it. I don't want him to be a starter. I don't want him to be a person who is taking, important reps during the regular season. I think that it's important for the Saints to add to the offensive line during the draft and free agency, to be honest. But I wouldn't hate the Saints bringing him back as a backup, because it's not like he was all terrible, but it was a lot more bad than it was good, at least in my eyes. So where would you build up the offensive line? This is kind of a hot topic amongst Saints fans, because the draft, it's like they're cheap. They, and they can be a project, and they can maybe work, they maybe don't. Free agency, got to pay them a lot of money, but you're getting a experienced player like off the bat, so that can play right away. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Which side are you going to fall on? Are you draft or free agency? Where are you building up the offensive line? I want you to be the GM for me. And we got a couple more for you. ESPN predictions on Isaac Yiadom in 2024. He's an unrestricted free agent. And what the Saints might do is re-sign him. And in terms of the coverage grade, he had an 80.4 PFF grade, an 81.1 overall PFF grade, 1 interception, 14 pass breakups, and 37 tackles. I was really impressed with Isaac Yiadom. I would keep him. I would definitely bring him back. I don't think you're going to have to break the bank to bring him back, but I do think that he earned a payday, and I wouldn't try and cheap him out. I would try and give him a respectable contract that's also team-friendly. He allowed an 84.4 passer rating. This could be helpful if Marshon Lattimore does get traded. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does, Isaac Yiadom would be a good player to have fill in terms of the void of Marshon Lattimore with Paulson Adebo. Last player, Zack Bonnell. In 2024, he is an unrestricted free agent, and the ESPN thinks that they might re-sign him. He had 30 tackles, 2 sacks, and 4 tackles for loss in 2023. Now, I'm not against bringing back Zack Bonnell, but you have to not try to make him be something he isn't. Or you have to try to make him – you can't – let me rephrase. You can't try to make him something that he's not. He is not a drop back in coverage linebacker. He is put the freaking hand in the dirt and rush the damn quarterback, get scrappy, and hit that son of a gun. I would bring him back if that is what Dennis Allen will allow him to do. I mean, look what he did in college. The Saints drafted him on that production, 19.5 tackles for loss and 12.5 sacks. Let the man put his hand in the damn dirt and rush the effing quarterback. I don't understand why they're trying to make him be something that he's not. If the plan is to try and make him a covers linebacker, no more. I'm done with that experiment. But if you're willing to let him rush the passer, I think that makes sense. And I think that it would be a smart move for the Saints to bring him back. Now, have a great weekend, Saints fans. I hope you guys have some fun stuff planned. I hope you guys are able to relax, recoup, and rejuvenate for a busy week next week. If you made it to the end of the video, just give me a real one down in the comment section. I appreciate you for hanging out on this little bit longer of a video. But y'all stay golden. We'll see you next time.